Welcome to the YouTube Creators Hub podcast, where we help you conquer the internet one video at a time. We cover everything from how to start a YouTube channel to how to make a video go viral. And now, here's your host, the one and only Dusty Porter.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 311 of the YouTube Creators Hub podcast. I hope all of you are having a wonderful day as you're listening to this, whether you are listening on your jog or walk, or you're listening as you clean the house or do chores or driving down the road. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of your content schedule. If you don't know who or what we do here on the podcast, we interview YouTube creators, video marketers, folks who have succeeded on YouTube and are succeeding and have a lot to offer, and we get behind the scenes of what makes them tick, who they are as people, what makes a successful creator on YouTube, and the different bits of strategies and things and mistakes that they've made, and hopefully that you can learn from those as well. Huge thank you to TubeBuddy for supporting and sponsoring the show. They have been the prime sponsor of this podcast for over 6.5 years now. Thank you to TubeBuddy. You can use our link in the show notes. It says try TubeBuddy for 30 days free here. You use that, you get a free 30-day trial, a free month trial. You'll help the podcast out, help me out, and it'll help you out in return because you can use things like the tag generator. You can use the keyword assist tool. You can use the new, as far as like the past few months, chapter creator to easily go in and create your chapters. If you're looking for a tool that'll shave hours off of your workflow, TubeBuddy is that tool. Also, huge thank you to those folks over at patreon.com/DustyPorter. You can go over there, support us at the analyst tier or higher, and you will get a shout out of a link or website or your name of choice on one episode per month. I believe I just did that last week, and so it'll be 3 more weeks, and you will hear who our analysts are, but a huge thank you to those and other folks. You can support us at lower tiers as well to get access to our Discord server and just be a part of our little community and find a way to again, throw a few dollars our way to help us continue to provide this wonderful interview-based show. Got a comment here, an email. If you want to email me, you can email me, dusty@dustyporter.com, but this one came in. You can find me on Twitter, too, at DustyPorterYT over there. Something I'm going to do, if you hit me up, whether it be email or Twitter, and let me know something you've learned from the show or maybe some success you found from listening to the show, I'm going to give you a shout out here on the podcast. This one comes from Julina Strife. She says, Dusty, have been a long-time listener, first-time caller, and she put a little smiley face there. I love that old radio talk there. But I wanted you to know that I've been listening since episode 112 and have not missed an episode since. I listen on my way to pick up my kids from school and just different commutes that I have throughout the week. I want you to know that it has inspired me to listen to all of your guests, and one of my favorite things about your podcast is that you don't just have large creators on the show. You have everyone from every walk on YouTube, and I want you to know I really appreciate that. Juliana, thank you so much for reaching out to me. You can do so by emailing dusty@dustyporter.com or finding me over on Twitter as well. All right, with all of that out of the way, let's jump into this week's conversation. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's conversation on the YouTube Creators Hub podcast. I am joined by not one, but 2 wonderful creators this week. I'm joined today by Rose and Glynn Willard. They decided to sell their home, most of their possessions, back in May of 2020, and their business to pursue a longtime dream of downsizing, living debt-free, and traveling the country in an RV with their 2 boys. While the beginning of this process has not been easy for them, they've realized what truly matters in life and what they ultimately need to live a fulfilled life. Rose and Glynn, how are you guys doing today?
We are wonderful and honored to be here.
Yes, thanks for having us, Dusty.
Beautiful. And your YouTube channel is called Reset Your Journey. So if you're wanting to follow along or go check them out after you listen to the show, that is Reset Your Journey over on YouTube. You guys are growing fast. You got a great little community over there. But I want to talk to you guys about the initial kind of origin story of the channel. And Rose, I'm going to let you take this one to begin with. Tell us the beginning stages of the Reset Your Journey channel and kind of what was involved in getting it going.
Well, it really started out as a way for us to kind of document our journey so that the kids could have something to see in the future. And also as a way for family members and friends to follow us along the way. So that was fun, and I really enjoy editing stuff. I'm an artsy person, so that was great. Then as we got into our journey, we started receiving wonderful comments from people saying how wonderful they thought this journey was for our kids. And they were kind of living through us because it was at that time during the pandemic that people weren't getting out there, but we had already started this and they just loved what we were doing. So it was a lot of positive reinforcement and we were influencing people in a good way. So we figured, why not? Let's just keep this going. So that's kind of how it started.
And Glynn, what do you remember about the early days? I know 2020 doesn't seem like that far ago, but the way the years are going right now, sometimes they seem long. They seem super long, but then the days go by quick. So what do you remember about that?
Dusty, it does seem like a long time ago. And for me, it was a huge change because I ran the business and I was so involved in that, and letting go of something that we spent 20 years building was very difficult. So for me, emotionally, I had some issues to deal with. And then it came down to the research of, my goodness, what do we actually want to do with this? And the start just, it snowballed. And one thing led to the other, and we were so busy challenging ourselves that all of a sudden the emotional issues just start to disappear. It fades away, and you start to focus on the positive feedback from the community we were building. And oh my goodness, one thing we learned in business was, don't worry about your competition. Just focus on your staff, your customers mostly, and your systems, and just run those and you'll be fine. So we sort of took that approach with YouTube. And it has paid off so well because it may not be growing as fast as we want. I mean, everybody wants their YouTube channel to grow quickly, right?
Right.
But it's a solid community that we're building, and we absolutely love them. So I hope that answers the question.
It does. It really does. And now I want to ask you guys, and we'll start with you, Rose. What were some of the initial roadblocks? Some of the things that you guys struggled with early on with the YouTube channel, and how did you guys kind of tackle those?
Well, I think editing, because although I had a little bit of an idea, I never really worked with the program, and I had to do a lot of learning. I actually watched a lot of YouTube videos, and I would always Google, or, how do you do this in Shotcut, or how do you do this? And so that, I think the editing part it took a lot longer because I had to learn as I went.
And how about you, Glynn? Do you remember any of those kind of stumbling blocks for you guys, the things that were the most challenging early on?
Oh, this one's easy. For most of my life, I was deathly afraid of standing in front of a camera and being videoed. So this pushed me so far out of my comfort zone, I think I fell off a cliff. But then, oddly, I ended up loving it, and who knew? So that was a massive roadblock for me. But man, I am so glad I did it.
What would you say to people, Glynn, who are afraid to get in front of the camera? Or I hear this a lot, oh, I hate the way my voice sounds. What would you tell those people?
To practice with something that you're not going to post, and just keep doing that over and over until you're comfortable. And then use what you've produced to cue from. And use your friends as feedback. I have a very good friend who said, Glynn, you are way too intense on video. You need to calm down and take it easy and just be a little bit looser. And you know what? It was the best feedback I had ever gotten. So yes, do things you're not going to post until you're comfortable with what you see.
Yeah, it really is about, when it comes to that, I think about it often. I go back and listen to some of my older videos and podcasts, and I hate listening to them.
Yes, we feel the same way with our first stuff.
I can't believe I ever sounded or looked like that on camera. But the thing is it's all a learning process. And if I never put out that video, I would never be the person and creator that I am today. And so going back and listening and watching, as hard as it may be at times, to your older stuff, and maybe even taking notes, maybe not physically taking notes, but mentally taking notes of what you want to do better next time. Find out what your tics are. Find out the things that you do over and over again that get on your nerves, that maybe make your content a little less quality. And those are some things that you can do to kind of get over that camera fear or camera shyness or whatever you want to call it.
Agreed. I think it makes you a better person too.
So you guys are on the road all the time, going to all these fun new places. Talk about how you guys, we'll start with you, Glynn, then go to her on this one. What are the things that you do to capture your videos? Like, talk about a video from start to finish as far as like the gear you use and kind of how you script it, what your plan is for the video.
We don't really, and initially we didn't script. Initially, it was just carrying around a couple GoPros, in fact, just one GoPro, and shooting, from the hip, whatever we saw, whatever we did, and it got us comfortable. But as we saw things grow, I decided, like any good business, we'll make some capital investments and expand our film gear. So now we do plan what we're going to shoot so that A, it's easier for Rose to edit, and B, it is picked up SEO-wise based on some of the most popular things that are currently happening in the RV travel world. So the equipment has evolved. We run 2 GoPros and a Fujifilm X-T4, and I have taken the crash course in learning how to film, and audio is extremely important, as you know, in YouTube. And right now, we're, the Rode podcast mic is what we're using at this point, and we're using that for voiceover. So the equipment has evolved, but I felt like we had to earn it, Dusty. I couldn't just go out and buy it. I feel like, you have to see X number of subscribers and watch time before you say, okay, it's worth doing this now. And
can you talk just briefly, Rose, about, you mentioned the microphone that you used, but as far as like miking both of you when you're out and about, how are you guys handling audio? Because I know when you're in studio, like what I do here, it's pretty easy. You plug the microphone in, you make sure it works. It's a nice microphone, make sure you have a good recording space. But when you're on site, when you're out doing fun things like you guys are doing while you're vlogging, what are some tips you would give people if they are recording audio out and about?
Well, I kind of wish we had like a lapel mic or something at times, because there are outdoor noises that you just can't get away from sometimes. Mm-hmm. So currently, though, when we're using our GoPro and that, I make sure we're, as far as the distance, I mean, it picks up pretty well, I think. But then our other camera has a good microphone on it as well. So I can kind of help that a little bit through the editing process, and I can change up the volume and increase, decrease. So I think that's
absolutely
kind of what we do now.
What are something, Glynn, that you guys look back on and we're like, man, I wish I would have known that sooner? As far as the YouTube journey goes, maybe there's a couple of things as well, and then once he gets done, you can kind of go off of that answer as well if you want to, Rose.
Okay.
I wish I had known how long it was going to take, and in our last business, I always tell everyone, we worked an entire year without taking $1 before I took a salary. And then all of a sudden it was a nice salary. And now we're past that point. So I wish I had known the amount of work that was required to see very little income. I think that's the biggest thing I wish someone had told me. And then secondly, I wish they had told me the power of affiliate links and how to funnel your systems that direction, because I had no idea. And now I realize that there is a potential for more income doing this.
Yeah, through the affiliate links is what you're talking about outside of the YouTube ad revenue.
Correct.
And I want to talk about that briefly, but is there anything that you can think of, Rose, that you wish you would have known sooner?
I can't think of anything else right now.
No, that's okay. Absolutely.
That was good.
No, that was fantastic. So back to the affiliate links. Let's talk about that for a minute. Are you guys, let's just kind of transition into the monetization talk. I assume you guys are a part of the partner program. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So with that being the case, what are other ways that you're monetizing? And talk about how hard it is to monetize a small channel and the amount of money that you're making. You did briefly kind of touch on that, but kind of go beyond a little more in depth there.
as far as monetization and ad revenue and the tiny bit of affiliate links now, I always make the joke, and someone says, we're a year and a half into this, and I'm like, you know what? I'm making a whopping $100 a month. And but that's okay. At this point, we sold our business and we're just cruising along, and this is an investment. And you know what? We're having a lot of fun. Yeah. So as far as, I have just learned how the affiliate link system works. I have taken a deep dive into that, studied everything I could, and I'm just building the systems now that sort of will grow as we grow. And the last thing I want our community to feel like is we're trying to sell them something.
Absolutely.
I feel like, in our position, we have this fiduciary responsibility. If we're helping them to direct them to buy things that would serve them well in an RV, then we don't want to sell them junk. We want to sell them or help them make the decision to buy what they really need and save them money in the long run. So I don't feel sleazy doing this. I feel like it's just the next step for what we're doing.
Yeah, and it helps kind of keep us on the road at times too.
Well, with diesel prices, it gets very expensive to drive cross country.
I could imagine right now that's probably a nightmare. So I do not envy you guys there. What would you say about doing this as a family? Like I know my daughter wants to be on YouTube. She sees Daddy do it. She wants to be a part of it as well. What would you tell people, Rose, having your two boys there, being a part of this? What are some things that you've learned along the way, and what was some advice that you would give folks wanting to do this as a family?
Well, first of all, it is definitely a hard balance with the kids and the videoing and the editing. And at first they weren't too crazy about the videoing part. So, it was mainly just Glynn and I anyways. That's our thing, But as they saw me editing, and they were very curious about that, and realizing that other people are watching and families, and they're enjoying it, and we're helping them. And so they got a little more involved with it. But the other balance part is actually, we're on the computers a lot. We're editing, we're sitting a lot. So that's been the hardest balance, and with homeschool and all that stuff. But it can be done, and they do enjoy it. It's just making sure that they have, tablets come out, they can have that time, making sure they have a little balance, getting their school done. This is the age of technology. So
right.
it happens. Yeah.
I just think it's so cool that, we're going to have families who grew up being on, it's not TV, but it's TV the way that these kids see it, in that they're on the screen now. They can see themselves be a part of something, and they're part of y'all's show, or they're part of your channel, or whatever you want to call it. And I think that is such a neat thing, that going forward, that we're going to see this new generation just grow up with it. And yeah, there are tons of downsides. Trust me. Yeah. I'm just like, I understand what you're talking about, Rose, with balance, because with my kids, my daughter's 7. I have a 3-year-old. 3-year-old, not so much. We try to give her an iPad to get her to sit still, and she just won't do it. But the 7-year-old, she wants to play Roblox, or she wants to watch YouTube Kids every now and then. And so we have to balance, how do we handle that? And so, but also understanding them that, hey, listen, we are on YouTube, and we want you guys to be a part of this thing, and then also protecting their privacy. And can you talk about that maybe for a minute, Glynn, as far as like privacy for the kids and for you guys, and as far as how are you creating a healthy community on YouTube?
I believe in family-oriented content. I don't want anyone to ever feel like their kids couldn't watch what we produce.
Absolutely.
So that is important to me.
Yeah.
And the one thing that we have the infinite control over is we can edit out anything that's just not right. And I always tell the boys, I'm like, if you're uncomfortable with anything that we've put together, we can change it. We can edit it out. We can make that disappear. And with that power, we feel a lot more comfortable. And I don't think we've ever experienced the weird feeling of, someone stalking our kid, or, just watching just for the kids. So far, so good. May it stay that way, please.
So I think one of the things that I often think about when it comes to vloggers and family vloggers, like what you guys are doing, traveling and capturing your journey, is how do you come up with ideas for the videos? As far as, do you guys sit down at the beginning of the week or the beginning of the month and say, okay, we're going to go here and here, and we're going to go do this and this, and we want it to be fun, we want it to be entertaining, and we want it to be different. Talk about the idea generation side of things. Whoever wants to take this can take it.
I'll take it. It's really based on our location, like where we're going to be. And we kind of just start out vlogging basically of the whole process. Our traveling, our camping/boondocking site, what's near there, national parks, monuments. And we just document that all. But along the way, if something happens, say something super interesting, like our tire falls off, that kind of takes precedence throughout the video, and we go with that. Then we have some of our other content, like our evergreen videos, some of the how-to type stuff with the RV or that kind of stuff that we plan a little bit better for, and we kind of have a script and all that stuff. So
yeah, I guess I'll take over from there. When, as you know, Dusty, when bad things happen on YouTube, it seems to get a lot more hits. So we certainly milk that when we can. And as far as other idea generation, we don't consume a whole lot of YouTube content, but we do watch a little bit to see what's trending and get an idea, and then we'll base some of our experiences off that. We really, really have niched down into boondocking in an RV and have pushed to not own it, but to be a big part of that particular community. So we're giving as much instruction on boondocking. A lot of our focus is on living off grid in an RV, which is very challenging at times. So it's very intriguing to people. I think it's fascinating and fun.
It is fascinating and fun, and I think you are right. People, it's kind of like when there's a car wreck, people break their necks to see it, right? When
Yes.
something bad happens, unfortunately, that's kind of the way that it is. It's folks are always wanting to see kind of what happens, or the wheel fall off, no pun intended there.
Yeah.
And how do you guys balance the type of content that you create, Glynn? Like, how do you balance the how-to evergreen, I call it tentpole content, and the fun kind of relevant stuff that you're doing right now?
I think it's based first of all on location. So if we're in an itinerary, we're going to multiple locations, say in Utah, that are popular areas, we're going to do a lot of filming that way. But we always film 3 months, I believe,
It's
behind
2 to 3,
schedule, 2 to 3 months behind. So anything that we put out now it has happened months ago, and that keeps people from sort of finding us on the road to keep things safe. But how do we balance this?
Well, now I see us doing more kind of alternating a bit, maybe a couple videos of our vlogging, like our travels, and then we'll throw in the next one will be like a how-to, or this is the gear you need type of thing, and evergreen type content. So we have a little bit of a balance.
Every other one, sort of that range of motion.
What have you guys found out? I have a couple of buddies who are in the RV traveling, boondocking niche or space on YouTube, really good friends of mine. And what have you guys found about that community and building that community on YouTube?
It's a very inquisitive community, and they are very hungry for information. And the community itself of boondockers is a group of wonderful people who are always there to help you if you need it. It's kind of like, I don't know if you ever rode motorcycles, but everyone who rides motorcycles or drives Jeeps waves to each other and helps each other out on the road. Same thing applies to that deep niche of boondocking RVers.
And do you guys meet folks out and about who are doing the same thing you're doing? And what do they think about the YouTube channel?
Yes, and everyone seems very intrigued, and they seem to really like, we are well received. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. So what's next for the channel? Like, both of you guys can answer this. Rose, we'll start with you, and then Glynn, you take over after that. What's next short-term and long-term for the channel? What are some plans that you have in mind?
I think I'll start here. When we selected the name to Reset Your Journey, I wanted something that was slightly agnostic, generic, that we could take any direction we want, because, when we started our other business, we knew exactly what we wanted, but we didn't know what this was going to evolve into. So it could evolve into something in the life coaching world. It could evolve into something where we get people just to challenge themselves to do different things. It could just become filming our family and focusing on affiliate stuff and ad revenue. So we really don't know yet. We're at that crossroad, Dusty, and we have to make a decision soon as far as what direction we're going. And I bet you there are so many YouTubers who have come to that same situation where they thought that they were going to do one thing with their channel, and it just evolved into something else. So I think you need to be prepared for that kind of flexibility, if that makes sense.
It does. No, absolutely. And Rose, what would you say about what do you think you would like to do going forward?
Well, I think also in the beginning of this journey, we sold everything, but we wanted to do this, but I think eventually we wanted to kind of find where we truly wanted to end up. Like, I think we still need some kind of home base to kind of fall back on. So I think maybe a hybrid lifestyle would be cool.
Agreed.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the final question I'm going to ask both of you, we'll start with Rose first, is what advice would you give creators who are struggling to grow? You guys talked about getting into it and realizing that it is a long haul. It is something that takes time. It is an incremental growth type thing. What advice or inspiration or bit of whatever you want to call it would you give to folks right now in the journey, in the trenches, like you guys are growing a channel?
Yeah, don't let that doubt creep in. Just keep going and keep making quality content, and try not to, look at all the others and what they're doing. It sounds cliche, but yeah, keep going, be consistent, and make your videos just better and better.
Learn from what you're doing. Yeah. Use each video as a springboard to produce something better next time. I mean, you never know on YouTube when you're 3 feet from gold. You don't know when the next one is going to take off. So be patient, keep doing what you're doing. And if you're currently working a job while you're producing this, just keep going. You'll know when the right time is to stop. It's, that, Dusty, you've been in that position before, I'm sure. So be consistent. Just, it's not if, it's when, if you're consistent.
There are so many creators who their channels or their content dies prematurely because they fail to, what you said, to see through the noise and to push through that barrier of, okay, I've been doing this a year and a half now. I still only have 3,000 subscribers. I'm getting a few more views per video, but it's not really noticeable. Like you said, Glynn, it could be the next video. I talked to a guy yesterday that's going to be on the podcast this week. It was a YouTube short that he produced literally 2+ years into his journey that really made his channel take off, and now he's growing like crazy. You never know. The other guy that I know, a buddy of mine, who is in the RVing and the same space you guys are in, he spent years trying to grow a channel, and he changed up his niche a little bit. He changed up the way he did a few things, and boom, next thing you know, his channel's taken off, really growing a great community over on his channel. And also understanding that you don't have to be a 1 million subscriber channel to be successful.
Correct.
A channel like what you guys do with a good community of, a few thousand folks can provide for you guys, and you can make a really healthy living from it. Understanding that is a really big deal. So I want you guys to know, Rose and Glynn, you guys are killing it. You guys are doing some really fun stuff over at the Reset Your Journey YouTube channel. I appreciate both of you for being a guest this week. Thank you guys so much.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Thank you, Dusty.
All right, and we'll talk to you next time.
You bet.
You've been listening to the YouTube Creators Podcast. We want to thank you and invite you to subscribe to the show, as well as support us on Patreon for great perks, such as having your YouTube channel featured on the show and a link on our website. Until next time, keep uploading those videos.